I'm not sure what the cost of contaminating humanity should be, but 16 million isn't it? What's up, guys? The Devil We Know. Another documentary I picked up on Netflix, and this one was a little bit darker, as the name might suggest. I talk about all the time how there's so many different toxins in our world that we have to deal with on a regular daily basis, and this is absolutely one of the worst. So what they're referring to is the DuPont Corporation and Teflon, and how hazardous it is to your health. And there was a farmer who sold his land to the original plant of DuPont, and he was actually downstream from the DuPont place where they were making and creating Teflon and then dumping the waste from the Teflon into the streams. And it was a real eye-opener. I mean, I knew about Teflon not being good for you, but not on this level, because it basically polluted the entire Ohio River Valley and damaged the entirety of humanity, as the opening quote suggests. So it was mind-blowing that they went to the lengths they did to find the research for the health impacts of what they called C8, or fluorofluorinated fluorocarbons, and all these other PFOAs, PFAs, PFOBs, PFOSs, all these different. And it's interesting that it's all also related to fluorides. It's a type of fluoride chemical. But anyways, they talked about 6 different diseases that it ended up being linked to. High cholesterol. I didn't know that was actually technically a disease, but it led to heart disease in a lot of people. Thyroid disease, which probably is a whole multitude of different thyroid issues put together. There's Preeclampsia, kidney cancer, testicular cancer. I think I'd name 6 now. If I'm missing out on one, it'll probably be in the description. Anyways, so it was mind-blowing that it talked about how the animals were dying in that downstream. They had black teeth, especially the cows that were dying. They ended up getting born with birth deformities. Oh my gosh, crazy stuff. There is a touching story in there about Bucky, who is a son of one of the original people who worked on the Teflon in the DuPont plant, and Bucky was born with some deformities that looked very similar to some of the deformities of the cows. I guess of the 8 women who also worked in this general area, 2 of them had children with birth defects, and they want to say, oh, well, there's no way to prove that, but that's, it's just, the way they lawyer up and stuff. And the biggest thing they talked about was the overlap of EPA bought out revolving door for individuals who went from working for DuPont to working for EPA. And you know what? That happens in a whole lot of other corporations in our government. If you looked into it, you would learn we live in a corporatocracy where big money, big interest control almost everything, every fact of our life anyway. So they researched those things. Getting back to the study, the largest chemical study on health impacts the world ever did, probably 70,000 people just over 7 years, to come up with those results that they in fact were linked to what they called C8. So it's a mind-blowing thing that they had to settlement, ended up being $16.5 million, when they've got profits every single year, or something to that effect, of $28 billion. Man. Mind-blowing, mind-numbing. And all they did was phase out C8, create a new formula, and it's crazy because now they're just polluting the world with a different formula of the same basic stuff, right? And that's a big problem in America, is there's so many chemical pollutants in everything, and makeup is one of the largest offenders as well. If you look into makeup in Europe, there's hundreds of outlawed chemicals in Europe. In America, there's only like 15 outlawed chemicals. And it's just, I can't believe the world we live in, guys. Sometimes I think about, man, it'd be great to live in Europe because it seems like they're way ahead of us in some things. I live in Colorado. I'm American. I grew up shooting guns, firing guns, and I don't want to get rid of that freedom to own guns. But man, I used to watch Max Kaiser and the Kaiser Report, who he's an expatriate. He lives in London now. He had a TV show on RT. I don't know if he still does or not, but he talked about how they gave up their liberties to live in London for gun rights. And the argument for gun rights is, I want to be able to defend myself and have a well-armed militia if it comes to, XYZ, right? Mainly the government and its tyranny is what a lot of people would say, right? And that's basically why it's in the Constitution, right? But Max Kaiser brings up a good point. He said if Americans were going to pick up their guns to fight tyranny, they would have done so a long time ago. And that just hurts because there's so many people just apathetic, too self-absorbed. Too many people think they're powerless. And in a lot of ways, the entire society formed around us has made us become powerless, emasculating men in so many ways. Anyways, getting back to the documentary, just kind of mind-blowing. And people always stood up for the DuPont Corporation in this. They were like, oh, there's no way DuPont would poison us. And they talked about all the different products that it ended up going into. And I was like, man. It's pretty cool. Okay, so here's the deal. I also worked for a while as a locksmith. And there is a product that is amazing called Tri-Flow. And it works awesome for lubricating locks if they get gummy, if they get stuck. And it works way better for ignition. If you get your key stuck, it works great. Anyways, that's a Teflon-based product. And I was always a little weary of using it, tried to make sure I was careful. But they talked about Teflon basically being what they called the devil's piss, because nothing breaks it down, nothing gets rid of it. It's in everybody's blood, because they talked about how they tested the entire world after it had been released. They found Teflon in everybody's blood, and the only source that they couldn't find was from when it was released, before it was released in soldiers' blood that they tested before Teflon was invented. So it's just mind-blowing, guys. Anyways, this documentary, like I said in the beginning, was a little bit darker. You probably, might want to skip the first 5-10 minutes if you don't want to see dead cows, dead fish, some pretty graphic imagery. But yeah, it was mind-blowing because I guess some of the local school kids ended up getting black teeth, just like the cows got black teeth. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, please leave a comment. If you know of other really cool documentaries that are on Netflix right now that are health related, let me know, because I'm going to be checking out more of these. I like doing these videos. I like talking about these things. But anyways,
stay healthy, guys.
Word.